Hey guys, how we going? Sorry I'm late. I got held up at work with a patient. It was fairly difficult, so it's good to sign back on again. Just give me 1 second. It'll give some people some chance to sign on. I'm just going to log up all my computers and stuff like that. I hope we're all having a fantastic week. I've had a real busy one. Hey Emily, how you doing? I've just got online. I'm a bit late, so sorry about that. Just a bit flat chat at work. So I'm just putting this down. Okay. Hey Feds, man, how you going? Adam, Ian, how's everything going? I've just logged on, so just give me a second to organise myself. I've just walked through the door. What am I doing? Just setting myself up. Oh, all right. So, hey Dylan. So today I want to talk about summary from last week. I really hope I got some really good feedback about last week. I hope everyone really enjoyed what I spoke about in the form of like setting yourself up to fail. I hope everyone's had a chance to employ that this week and really got some good positive internal feedback from that, because it's such an important aspect that I think people overlook. And if you have any questions that you thought of over the week or anything, get back to us, but just make sure you reinforce. And every time you think about something, it's like, hey, it's not being skeptical or anything like that. Oh no, I lost my camera. It's not being skeptical or anything like that. It's just about, hey, it's not about doing something. It's about thinking something through and making sure that your outcomes are all set up. The patient expectations are really well managed, so you get the best outcome, which is going to save you any troubles that you're going to end up with. So super important with that type of stuff to make sure you get that best outcome. So I hope that was useful, and I hope everyone went out there and straight away sort of put that onto the application or into play, so they got the best outcome they can. So tonight is all about that self-evaluation. So I think this is a super important element. It's gonna help you so much forever. I think the most important thing out of this, and the one element I really want you all to take away from this, is it's about looking at yourself and making sure you don't end up getting the blinkers put on and getting tunnel vision and only doing the same thing, which results in probably poorer outcomes, or you're not really realising it, or you're getting a bit, hey Thomas, a bit like, oh yeah, okay, like, oh, that person just didn't get better because they didn't do my exercises, or they didn't wear the orthotic, or they didn't come back to me, or making excuses yourself. You just accepted that it didn't work out. I mean, everyone's an individual, and there's something in your age that you did. So like last week we spoke about not setting yourself up to fail. That's part of this. So by taking the right steps to look at yourself and make sure that you're doing things that are productive is super important. So one of the ones that I really I was talking to someone today about is they literally started a job and they looked around their room and then reorganized their room after sort of a week or so of practicing, because they realized it wasn't ergonomic for them. And I just really thought that was a great one, because it's so simple but it's so overlooked. But the power of, they say change is like a holiday. Just changing your room up can make everything feel so much better. I know where I've been practicing for sort of 7-8 years now, I have changed my room at least 5 times. I think it's now in a situation where I really can't do much more for that space. But every time I've changed it, it's been to improve the area so I can use it more. And now I've got a space where the treadmill is sort of in a position where it doesn't need to move. The camera behind it doesn't get in the way. The chair is easy to access for treatment and examination. And then I've got a bit of a space for physical exercise prescription and things like that. and then I sit next to a desk and they can sit next to me, and I'm not really closing the patient off from me when I'm sitting at my desk. So I really, really like that. So I put it to you all, my first task tonight would be, or over the next week, is go into your office, go into your home office, go anywhere, and have a look around the room and go, is this the best setup for me? Could I change it? Could I make it better? And that's starting those cogs turning of, hey, what more can I do to improve the space and get a more efficient pattern? So I'd love to hear, or even some people to take some before and after photos even and post them up under the video or anything like that. But I'd love to hear out next week or even over the next week if anyone's gone out and done it, and they're like, oh, it's been 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, whatever, and I haven't done anything, and it was such a refreshing change. It made my room feel like a whole new energy, and that was it made me really kickstarted me back into do some really strong work and really help out the patient. So that's the first one, and I thought that was really interesting because that's an external factor, like it's an environmental change and evaluation, and it is very much an evaluation about looking at, is that ergonomic, is that the best thing for me, and whatnot. So the next one I'd like to look at is evaluation is simply of your notes. So I have a set of quick notes, like on-hand notes they keep in a Word document that I can cut paste. I modify them for the particular patients, but they have core sentences and things like that. That means I'm producing a standardization and the doctors know what to expect from me. Those notes are really easily reviewed and corrected, but how often do I get to do that? So I try and set every year. I just set aside a little bit of time and I go through them and I have a look at what phrases I'm maybe not using anymore and get rid of them. What phrases need to be refreshed. So there's even some phrases I'm like, oh geez, I haven't used that phrase as much this year because I've been concentrating on this, so I really should do that. So it sort of kicks me back into gear. I haven't done a review this year of them, but obviously it's the start of the year. My review last year, I honestly feel like for me, my notes and the way I've got them are really, really efficient, really effective, and they're so easy to cut paste. I know what I'm looking for, I can hit it. The other thing I did with notes a couple of years ago, I went from quick phrases with the examination to actually having examinations and stuff lift. So it's a quick note, but my quick note has examinations to remind me to do things, and if I've forgotten them, and I mean, look, we're all only human, and sometimes something could slip. You're having a chat with the patient, it happens. So really, really good to refresh and look over your notes. I think it's a really powerful thing. And if you don't have quick notes, I started by just simply taking some phrases that I was writing, and I was like, geez, I freaking love that phrase. Cut it and stuck it in there. And then, I went back over the next year and looked at it and rephrased it a little bit more. I did take an approach a couple of years ago of generalizing my notes. Really, I guess you could use the term McDonaldizing my notes. And that McDonaldization sort of led to a very generalized set of notes. I look back in hindsight, it wasn't my best set of notes, but I look forward at it and go, you know what? It made my notes stronger the next review I did, and now I have these and that was actually where these core notes have come from. Hey Claire, hey Jared, we're just talking about evaluation of my notes. If you go back in the video, I was just talking about changing your room up, and I was sort of challenging you to look at your room and whether you need to change it. But that was really, really, but back to my notes, I really felt that was good. So my core notes now have a really standardization to them. Yeah, it might be a little bit repetitive, but it's important because I don't double handle my notes. My initial notes go, and they go also into the letter for the doctor, and they're easy for the doctor's review. So that's the next tier of looking at notes, is ask some of your referrers when you speak to them. You should be communicating with these people about what they want to see in the notes and what they want to do, and that will they'll allow you to have an external source to actually go home. And they might go, oh, I don't understand your podiatry lingo. You write RSCP and you write MSRT and you write valgus or VL or whatever, and I don't know what that means. Or you write Jack's test and you write 3 out of 5 or something like that, and I don't know what that means. So it's really important that who the letter's going makes sense. Even from you to another podiatrist, they might not understand your lingo because they've come from a different region, different country. I was speaking to a girl, a young lady down in South Australia today, and they actually had a slightly different lingo or a few things compared to the way I was lingoing things. So simple and easy. I think it's a really important thing that you just make that effort to look at those things and then try and find some external sources. Look, swap them up with your friends. Sometimes your friends use great lingo. I've even gone to the stage of looking at other podiatrists in the clinic I work with and looking at their notes and what they write and how that compares to my notes. And I found some great things that I really liked, and it changed me up. So, it's just about continuously asking the question, is what I'm doing the best thing to get the outcome I want? And is it the highest quality product for what the product is or what the element's been used for? So for notes, it's I'm going to go and send this off to a letter with a cover letter saying, hey, thanks for referring Scott. As you would know, this, and this was found. I've connected his notes. And then when the doctor goes through it, they go, oh, okay, so Scott's got really, rather than writing MSRT, he's got really serious pronation. Yeah, it sounds a bit dulled down, but the doctor understands that, and then they start understanding the quality of information you're going to give them and the quality of examination you're going to give them. Because if they don't understand all that lingo, they think you've probably done a crap examination or something. I don't know. Or maybe they think you're the best, but it's worth going back and looking at that. Sorry for those guys that arrived, but there's only 4 of you, but I was a bit late coming in. I bolted out of work. A bit of a late run tonight. So that's notes. So I really, really encourage everyone to go away and look at their notes and go and evaluate what they're doing and what they can do. And you guys can start again. So challenge 2 tonight is go away, go and make up some quick notes. If you haven't, go and look at the notes that you do regularly. You will have common phrases. See if you do it. Oh, the other thing is the quality of the note. If you're just writing, oh, someone pronates, we all know that pronation is not a pathology. So should you be writing severe pronation, significant pronation? Should you be saying that they're rectors? Should you be measuring their heel cup because you're not? Is there value in it? Should you be using the FPI? It's things like that. And do the doctors understand what FPI means? Do you need to go and do an in-session with them and actually go and teach them what FPI is? So when they write that letter to you, they know that that's FPI. And then they also know if another podiatrist refers them and they're not writing FPI, looks pretty good to you. So, oops, sorry, lost my screens. Hey Ash, hey Cam, hey Mitch, how we going? Just talked about changing up your room. So if you go back and watch the video, so getting a refreshing environment, and then also I've just finished up on notes and just re-evaluating notes. And hey Scott, just talked about notes, and the start of the video is about changing up your room for a self-evaluation. Now I'm going to get on to the actual sort of objective stuff that we do as podiatrists every day. So there's there's 3 tiers. This is obviously your subjective and what you ask patients. So you could go away and evaluate that. And anyone who works in a business, their own space, you might go away and go, hey, my new patient form, it doesn't have what are your allergies. And maybe I should just put it on that. Maybe you've gotten complacent because your new patient form is really detailed. You don't ask questions that you should, and then you stuck strapping tape on someone and they'd actually written that they had an allergy. So it's simple things like that in the subjective, but subjectively you should be asking information that's super relevant for you. So my subjective, I try and spend not too long on it, but I really try and I give them a little bit of sort of chit chat as I walk down the hallway. I sit them down in my chair and I go, okay, tell me about this pain. And I go through the core stuff like, what is it? When does it happen? How does it feel? Have you had an acute injury? Have you had any previous intervention? And have you got any previous history? And then once I've gone through that type of stuff, they'll tell you all about their shoes and how their shoe wear. And how many people have had people come in and go, oh, the lateral part of my shoe wears, is that weird? And it's not weird. We all know that's normal. But I just try and get that core information of what, when, how, when, why, that type of stuff. And then I get them up in the chair and I'll continue having a chat about what they're doing and, maybe what specific exercises they do that find painful. And that's in the chair why I start my physical examination. So I've definitely gone away and looked at my subjective a little bit and what question I had. I even went to the stage a couple of years ago of writing prefabricated notes, which before the patient came in, I stuck it into my column, and I could actually look at it on the screen as I was working and, communicate it to them. But I didn't want to make it look like I was reading, and that's, that can be a bit of a problem with that. So it's really good to refresh that, and you read it before you go in and then talk to them. But, that's the kind of really important thing that I'd encourage you all to have a look at. So subjective stuff, it's about probably watching your patient form collect. Are you asking the right questions? Are you missing things because you're not asking questions? So I had someone come in the other week. I've had a bit of problems with this patient, and it's come out that she's had half a meniscus in the medial meniscus removed from a knee, so she's sort of bone on bone, and she just hasn't told me that, and that's not my fault. Oh, sorry, that's not her fault. That's my fault because I didn't ask around enough. She's already an existing patient though. Like we've already been dealing with sort of bursitis and some other stuff, and like she's quite complicated, but kind of got lost in transit. But I look at it as I need to probably be more invasive with my questions, and the fact that she'd rolled up a year later, I probably should have asked if anything had been done. So the history, and I didn't because I sort of had the blinkers on. So that's something I did wrong in the last even 2 weeks, but it shows how important it is to make sure you are continuing doing that. So that's that portion. Tier 2 is obviously your examination. I think this is the ultimate. I think people just forget about it. They just keep doing the same thing. You keep getting the same results. Yeah, something might work, but even though it works, it's not about don't fix what's broken, but can you improve the already working thing? And that's something that everyone should be asking their questions all the time. So my examination, anyone who's done placement with me, they'll see that I go through the main things, and I try and start on the outside of the pyramid, and then I come down to the tippy point. So I don't do an Ober's test straight away, because Ober's test is down the bottom of the pinny point. I start by just doing, feeling out the range of motion, feeling if they're moving, asking the questions if they're subjective. And if they're like, yeah, my pain is ITB, then you might go on down and do a specific test. Or if their pain is, neurological in nature, you do a slump test. But I don't do a slump test every single patient. So with my examination, I've gone through a couple of times and changed it. And then I actually, after probably about 3 years, I stripped my physical examination down, and then I rebuilt it from scratch. So I stripped down everything to the pretty bare minimum: range of motion, strength testing, functional testing, and then I started adding things in. So went back and FPI went in, MSRT went in, because that tells me what type of density or control I need in my orthotics if I'm doing something like that. I do a functional with ankle range of motion. I now do a passive, I do a active, and then I do a functional, and then I look at them also on the VGA, which is functional as well. So that came out of Kevin Kirby's newsletters, orthotic newsletters, the 3 green, red, and blue books, I think it is, that I have, and they it's been a while since I've read them. But he talked about how he tested people passively with their ankle range of motion, and then actually saw how they were actively, because they might be tight passively, but then they can pull, they might be at 90 degrees, but then they can pull past 10 degrees actively. So just gives you a feel of what's going on, and then you test them functionally, and then look at them during gait, and they might not have an early heel raise, which you expected. So really, really good one that I went back and stripped back, but then I've improved the basic examination by filling that out, even though, how easy is it to test ankle range of motion? So easy, but I feel like that's an even stronger one. So I've got like a 4-tier ankle ROM, because sagittal plane's a massive one for me. It's an area we see heaps of stuff in. So there's one thing I went away and did. And then I sort of rebuilt my functional examination. That was one of the other big ones I did. So I went away and actually started looking at like lunging and lunge test, and was that value to me or not? And that's where my ankle range and stuff came in. Squatting. So let's use squatting. So I was doing a 2-legged squat, and I've read some articles how squatting was really, really important, and internal rotation is an indicator of knee pain and glute strength and stuff like this. And then I was like, yeah, but I don't see many people internally rotate. Little kids probably a big one, but it's probably a form thing. So I was like, well, let's do a single leg squat. And I've now refined that single leg squat. But I can see people squat normally. I had a young lady tonight, who's active, and then I got to do a single leg squat, and it was just all the way in, internal rotation, everything. And that internal rotation is an indicator that she could have possible stresses on her knees. So when I actually had a look, she's got a history of lower back pain and hip issues and tightness up there when I for my examination. So her glute strength probably could do with some work. And I've prescribed some exercises for that, and I'm hoping we'll see a really good improvement for that. And she does a lot of pump classes and things like that. So going from just a double leg squat, I'm now doing a single leg squat, which is one of the things I built up from. So that's a really, really good one. And I mean, we could go on all day about what you can do, but stripping it back and then building it up again was a super, super important place for me. And it's really made a big difference for me. I think if you go and read all the stuff in the research and stuff, it's great, but it doesn't transfer to clinical. So I have I must admit, I have a bit of a blinker on or a corridor, but functional. So I'll test passively, I'll sort of go and open doors, but I've got to then have a functional test to go with that passive test, or else I don't see how it's that valuable, unless it's valuable to you. So that's one way I've looked at myself with that. Finally, you can go into your prescription. So you might be prescribing heaps of stretching. So you're prescribing heaps of stretching, and you just go, yeah, just do it. And then, they come in, let's say they get their orthotic dispense, and then you never really review it. So straight away you're like, oh, I should be reviewing that in my treatment notes. So, I mean, I had a review recently in my workplace, and one of the things was we discussed on some ways that we could all be reviewing any prescription that and noting it better in our reviews. It's not that I don't go and check how compliant someone's been, but I wasn't really making the best notes, and a few other people weren't. And I mean, we were sort of like, oh, maybe we can improve on that, and that's better communication. So it's very much that. So prescribing the stretch, you might be like, yeah, I prescribe great stretches and my form's brilliant and I'm really happy about how I explain it to them, and I give them a form, and then I send them and follow them up with an email with a YouTube clip, but they still might not be doing it, and you won't know unless you go back and look at how much benefit you're getting out of that. So for me, I was prescribing a lot of generalized stuff, but I found it's all about prescribing it in a way that's more advanced than anything they can find on Google. So if you can Google it, doesn't mean it's terrible, but you need to take it to the next tier because anyone can Google it. So you've got to make sure of that. So explaining it to them. And then finally, and then the other thing I was doing is I'd find a more advanced stretch because they're probably already doing it if they've Googled it, and they're probably doing it fairly well. So I took it to the next tier for them. So that was a really great thing. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up. Didn't see who it was. Ian. Thanks, Ian. So that's a really important one through there. So then I also thought about, are my treatments right for them? So I was talking to someone else the other day about how so many people want to be treating runners, and how many people know exercise like strengthening specific for runners. Squatting doesn't really help a runner as such, so there are exercises that are more specific to running. And I actually read a review recently of some strengthening articles that specifically said generalized strengthening is not as beneficial for someone as specific strengthening for running. I know that sounds really obvious, but it actually sort of said you need to actually give them, if you're a runner, you really need to give them something more specific. So that really was, there you go, I've self-evaluated that, and with my runners I'm now changing that. So it's super, super important to go look at what prescriptions you're giving. Is your strengthening working? And you can't just go, they're not compliant or anything like that. You need to make sure you're getting outcomes. And if you're not getting outcomes because they're not compliant, you've got to review that and self-evaluate if that's the best thing for you. We do gait retraining. We've done some courses on that. And I've actually run through, and it's really, really hard to change someone's gait during running. Really hard. I actually have it down to 2 movements that I find that if I give that to someone, let them go work on it, and they work on it really hard, it'll actually improve their gait to a park running sort of level. And and not feel like a chore. And I've had really great results from it. So I had a lady recently who came in. She just wanted to see where everything was going because she's gotten into parkrun really heavily. And I gave her those tips. And I'm not going to tell you my secret. You can message me if you want my secret, and I'll help you out because it's my secret. But I might do a video on it. She came back and she said, I actually broke my PB twice since I've been doing it. So she was pretty happy, and she wasn't like she'd learnt. Like she was a fair way in, so she was really, really happy with that, and she hadn't done a PB in ages. So there's something simple. So go away and go and look at how you communicate with patients, how you collect your information. Then how do you examine someone? Is it actually valuable to you? Is it still something, or are you just been doing it because uni told you to do it, or your boss told you to do it? Are you using that information clinically to then prescribe the best exercises, treatment, whatever for that patient? And then do that every year. Just sit and have a think about it over a lunch break even. It doesn't take long, but then you'll be prompted to go and look up new things. Like when I went and looked at all my knee stuff, I went and looked at new stuff and I found out that I should be doing single leg squats because they expose that internal rotation. And then, really what movement. I watched lots of YouTube videos to actually see what the movement is, not just a pseudo finding, but a true finding. So I really appreciate everyone who signed on tonight and had a watch. Unfortunately, Daniel and Craig sort of signed in at the end, but go back, guys. I've gone through about changing your room up as a self-evaluation, just making things more ergonomic, but how good is change? It's like a holiday, they say. I've gone through about doing your notes and reevaluating your notes, which I think is a big one. I think a lot of people get caught up in their notes and how valuable that is to where you send your notes. Like I send my notes to doctors and stuff, and do they understand that, and physios? And then going through your treatment. So really important do I collect information well? Subjectively, how good is that? How good is my objective stuff? Is it valuable to me? Does it streamline down to what I need to do? And the big pyramid. Start wide and work your way down as you need it. You don't need to do all these things that you're going to cut off as you start to triangle that pyramid down, because it's not necessary to do, those tests when you're dealing with pathology A. Plantar fasciitis doesn't require you to do, I can't think of anything right now. I don't know, McMurray's test as such, or Apley's grind. There you go. And then your prescription. Is your prescription the best prescription for that patient? Is it relevant to what they're doing? Are they going to be able to do it? Have you given them too many exercises? And then have you given them the information for them to take away and remember it and actually keep prompting to do it? Because the power of education is so, so important. If you educate people and they understand what they're doing, they will do it for you and you'll get the best outcome possible. So super, super important. And those things, I prompt you all to go away, and over the next week, think about them, have a go, apply them. They only have to be little tiny things. You might just change one of your examinations. You might go, you know what? I don't do MSRT, and when I do prescribe my orthotics, I really sort of just, I guess it's a choice what density I'm picking, or I'm choosing from the video gate of how much pronation they're doing. Maybe I should do it to get an idea of what I should be doing. And I mean, that's a great test. Actually, at one of our original workshops where we had about 30 people, we got everyone in. Then, hey Ash, I'm just about to sign off, but if you go back through, we've gone through changing up your room, changing up your notes, or looking over your notes, and then we're doing this. But sorry, I go back to think. We had a room of 30 people do MSRT, and I kid you not, I think everyone but 2 people said the exact same measurement for all the people we tested. It was really quite reliable, and I was actually shocked. I was like, wow, I didn't expect it to be so good, but it's a great thing that it is so good. So take the challenge to self-evaluate yourself. I think it's super important. I think it's a really powerful tool. And for the time that you work for someone and you get reviews from your bosses, and are they valuable to you? You should be always, I should actually make this a point. My final point is, when you get reviewed by your bosses and your other people, you should take the information constructively. They're trying to be constructive. Unfortunately, reviews, I guess, can be quite negative because they've got to look at the points that you're not doing 100% right, but I hope they touch on the points you're doing really well. And they should be touching the points they touched last time and saying, did you improve or not? But you've got to take it all constructively. You've got to sort of not get worked up and take it personally. You've got to be like, oh, they're telling me this because I can improve on this, and it's great to have those external eyes. But when you start working for yourself, who's the person who's going to tell you if you're doing something well or doing it not so well? You are. So you've got to put systems in that do self-evaluation. Now, I could go into this for days and days and days and days and days on end. We could go 7 clicks deep, no problem, because there is so many systems out there. And I even think if you made a form and you're like, I'm going to use this every year, it wouldn't be exactly right, because then you've closed your eye off to that corridor thinking. So talk to your friends about what you do. Talk to them what they do. Get together and get these things. I would really love, and I know I'm in Brisbane, but everyone to instigate in their local areas to go and meet up with a couple of pods and not be so hyper competitive, and have dinners or lunches and talk about what they're doing. Oops, sorry, I lost my lights. Talk about what they're doing in their examination that they do, and then compare it to a friend or a mentor or whatever, and keep growing that circumstance. Go, oh wow, they do that, I'm going to do this, and then they'll learn something from you, and we'll start to build this standard higher and higher and get this really, really good system where people aren't scared to talk about things. So self-evaluation, I think it's one of the strongest things you can do. You have the power to do it, which is the beauty. And I mean, if you're in a position where someone's doing an external, you can take that information as well. But it will only make you better and take the blinkers off and stop you from just looking at the same sort of thing. Like, even if you are only working in a very narrow corridor like public health, where you might do a lot more high risk, it's so important to keep evaluating things and make sure you're getting the outcomes you desire, or else you're going to lose track, and you're going to end up one day waking up and go, well, why are my patients leaving me and going seeing the new bloke or the new woman down the road, or the guy in the other office that they've employed? It's unfortunately, you're the only person to blame if things aren't going the way you want. The other super important thing is, if you're not getting the outcomes you want, you're having a problematic patient, you've got to look at why you didn't get that outcome, and if it's something more systemic that you need to dig into. So please, everyone go look at your rooms and change something if you feel you need to. If you think there's a way you can do it better, don't be scared to change it. Look, obviously you should ask your bosses if you're allowed to, but I mean, it shouldn't be something that's problematic if you're trying to make it more ergonomic for you. So there's that one. Go and look at your notes. Is it all podiatry jargon, or it can be made better? And go and look at all your other examination stuff. And can your physical skill, your podiatry skill, be improved by simply talking to someone or re-evaluating yourself? Finally, I have a shameless plug. Dave Lippman's, or Dr. Dave Lippman's presentation next week, the 2nd of May. It's at the Aussie Nash, the Australian National Hotel at Woolloongabba in Brisbane. Tickets are on sale through the Eventbrite link. I've got Injinji, so that's Emily Donker's come on board with Injinji socks, and we've got a couple of those for lucky door prizes. Rock Tape has generously donated a full Rock Tape course and a full Rock Blade course, which is super exciting for me to give away. I believe there's a couple of other sneakers that might be going on. There will be a little bit of finger food, but obviously you can get a feed from there. It will be streamed. I'm hoping to even make possibly a recording, and I'll be able to give people access to that at a later date. But don't be confident in that. I'm still learning all that type of stuff. But that is next week on Wednesday night. It's sort of a 6:30 kickoff. Let's say 6:15. It's going to be a great night. We've got a bunch of physios, and there's massage therapists, and there's everyone from all over the allied health, including possibly a couple of doctors and who haven't confirmed yet with me. It'll be a great networking day. Please take the opportunity to go invite someone you've been trying to refer to come. I mean, if you are someone who does invest money or doesn't invest money or has the spare money of, a ticket price to go and bring a physio or someone down, contact me. If you've got someone you want to bring, it's a physio down the road, look, I'll give you a bit of a discount or something like that, so it's affordable for you, because I think that's so important. If that helps you, I'm willing to help you, because we want this to be the best outcome we can. So bums on seats, but it is going to be streamed, so please, if you can't make it, that is available. So 2nd of May, please get on it. I've got to do some more advertising, but tickets will be on sale till the day. So fingers crossed everyone gets involved. Should be a great evening, and as I said, there is going to be a whole whack of people on there. So not just podiatrists that night. I hope to see everybody there, and I hope to be able to give out these prizes to some really excited people to just something different, hey? And just something a little bit extra, just because, we love to give back. But I hope this makes a little bit of sense to everyone, and I hope you all go away and start evaluating yourself and set time up to do that, because it's so important. Thanks for watching again. I look forward to seeing everyone next week at PodChat. I'll once again put up a topic listing on earlier in the week. I'd really love to get some feedback from people about what type of thing, like on the topic. I haven't picked a topic yet, but if you do have a topic you'd like me to discuss from your everyday life, please give me a buzz. Once again, thanks heaps, and enjoy your weekend, guys.